Welcome to Bloody Good Horror.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another exciting episode of Bloody Good Horror. My name's Eric, and I'll be your host for this evening, where we will be discussing You Should Have Left, which is a title with many meanings, it turns out. We're going to talk about that in a little bit. That, is, of course, is starring one Mr. Kevin Bacon and Amanda Seyfried. Fun fact, John, I think she grew up Mormon. Isn't that right? I think I remember reading that somewhere.
Wasn't she just on that show Big Love? Is that what you're thinking?
She was.
No,
yeah,
I think she actually...
that wasn't a documentary.
We should Google it.
I thought I read that she's from like New Jersey or something.
I'm sure there's Mormons there. Anyway, joining me
There's
tonight.
Mormons in New
First
She's from
up,
Pennsylvania.
There's definitely not.
First up,
Yeah, go ahead.
from Hotlanta, Georgia. I don't think there's Mormons there, but who can say? Please welcome Cece to the show.
Yes, there are Mormons here, and hello.
Next up on the show from Indiana, please welcome Casey.
Hi-oh!
Why did I think she was Mormon? She totally is not Mormon. Anyway,
Definitely not.
whatever,
She was
dude.
on
Allentown.
Big Love. You were just
So
getting
funny.
confused.
For the
was
record,
born
we
in,
get Mormons in Indiana, too.
Pennsylvania. Maybe she was Pennsylvania Dutch. Who can say? Next
Yeah.
up on the show from Chicago, Illinois, please welcome Joe.
So, funny story about Mormons. One time I was in Disney World with a couple of our friends, and the joke is always that the wife, her husband travels a lot. So it's usually me, Leslie, and the wife. So like the three of us. We always joke around that we're Mormon, and she's my sister wife. So we asked them to take a picture with the like bride and groom. Like they both wore the bride ears, and I had the groom because we thought it'd be funny. We asked these people to stop, and I jokingly said, "Don't worry though, we're not Mormon." And the woman responded, "Oh, we are."
Cultural
Just to be
sensitivity.
clear, I don't have any problems with Mormons.
You should, John. You should.
I know, it's so funny. I don't know why in 2020, like with how bad I know my memory is and my track record of saying things like that turn out to not be true, that I would just open the show confidently with, she's a Mormon. Because, like, I don't know that. I just thought it was like, that's a thing you could have gotten away with like 20 years ago. And people would be like, oh, really? There's no way for us to look that up. So, sure. Anyway.
She was born in Allentown, PA, where they closed all the factories down, John.
Mm-hmm.
It's getting very hard to stay.
Last up tonight, from parts unknown, somewhere in the eastern seaboard, hair looking as David Spady as ever. Please welcome the business manager of Bloody Good Horror, Mr. John Schnars.
Hello, Eric.
Looking more like David Spade and Tommy Boy every day.
It's a good look. I'm
The
digging it.
swoop right now is more Jeffrey Dahmer.
I'm enjoying it. What does it look like? I didn't put anything.
You need some
You
volume.
didn't put any clips in it.
It's looking a little flat, John. You need a little volume in there.
I know. Listen, I got a lot about hair care. I got to learn. I mean,
Yeah,
Casey and Cece started with the bar soaps. I don't know.
Yeah.
That was rejected out of hand by my
Casey's
wife.
Casey's looking like a young Richard Gere over here. His hair.
Alrighty then.
I was gonna say that's a very nice
High
compliment.
praise.
You're welcome,
Compared
buddy.
to David Spade.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is nice. I don't see it, but that's a very nice compliment.
I was going to say, John, you need to get the gray going.
Yeah.
That's the secret.
We are here for another never-ending quarantine edition of Bloody Good Horror, and that means that movies that were going to come out in theaters are now being released on demand. This week's example, this Kevin Bacon movie, You Should Have Left. This is a Blumhouse joint. I believe I spotted what's his nuts in there very briefly. Upgrade guy. It's like Lee Winnell would definitely have like a little cameo in this movie, I believe. He like
If so, uncredited.
he like opens a door for somebody. Like I recognize his face. And here we are. So we're gonna review that. But before we do that, first thing we do every week is check in with Joe to see what we are drinking.
Beer guts.
Oh, hey everybody. This is talking about a beer. Oh shit, I forgot about the non-alcoholic pick for Cece this week.
And last week you just brought me by the wayside.
Well,
Ooh,
last week you didn't show up.
You should
week
pick.
before last.
You should have picked a Mormon beer, Joe.
Yeah.
I don't think those exist.
Anyway, you should have left a fine Kevin Bacon joint about a loving couple that goes on a little holiday before work starts for them again, and finds himself in a creepy little modern-ish house.
Say it's definitely modern.
Yeah, very modern, John. Very modern, John.
Ultra modern.
That's what I was getting. Modern Nouveau, I believe the style is called. Don't look that up.
Okay.
Anyway, I picked the beer from the good folks. They're out in San Diego. The name of the brewery is Modern Times. John, any clue what that is named after? What Modern Times named their beer after?
Is it the wait? You mean the brewery?
Yeah, what they named it after.
Yeah,
Like,
isn't it? It's a movie. Is it the movie?
No,
There's
John.
a movie.
It was a utopian community that was out on Long Island, New York, in the 1850s.
Because that's where I try to set up Utopia.
Yeah, well, 1850. It's not like there was,
Everything
like
was just trees anyway.
juice head and Guidos like running around in IROCs. Anyway,
Guidos.
the beer I picked from them was their Black House, John, which is a coffee stout, which I am a big fan of. It's actually an oatmeal stout, so they use oats in the brewing process. It gives it a little bit of creaminess. The way they describe this one is it almost takes like a chocolate covered espresso bean, which I've had a few of these. They don't actually distribute out by me, but when I've been out west, I've picked up some of their stuff before and have been a big fan of this. The interesting thing about them is they also roast their own coffee, so they're like one of the few breweries that actually can make the coffee the way that they want it to taste in the beer. So they kind of doing everything from start to finish here. Like I say, I'm a big fan of the style and a huge fan of this one because it just, it has kind of like that fresh coffee flavor with a little bit of chocolate in there and just all around good stuff. Comes in about 5.8% alcohol, so not super high. And again, like, it's a little bit like drinking Tucker, so you're not going to down these left and right anyway. ModernTimesBeer.com is their website, and definitely wholeheartedly recommend them if you can find their stuff.
All right. Thanks for that, JoJo. What are you imbibing yourself here while in quarantine?
So actually a local pizza shop, don't ask me why, but they opened up a like a little tiki bar. And they're doing like takeout drinks. So my wife got me like a 6-pack of Mai Tais for Father's Day. And nice. I proceeded to get like just fucking lit and just annihilated in like our little makeshift pool.
I saw you post that you were drinking pre-lunch on Sunday, so
because I had picked up beers for myself, and then she surprised me with
I don't know how you fucking do that and still be alive.
I started at 9:30,
and you're older than me.
Yeah, well, I've got a lot more practice.
You got a hardier constitution just generally, I think.
I definitely had a terrible Monday, though. I'll tell you that much. I did.
All right, good. It's nice to know that you are human every once in a while, because I just feel like you're this superhuman party machine that just keeps going.
Well, it was a lot.
When you get post 40, it's about maintaining a level.
See,
just keep it going all the time.
But even if I only had a couple beers, like within 2 hours of having my first beer, I'm dying, like physically in pain.
I was like past the 6-pack by noon, and then switched.
That's aggressive. That's aggressive.
That is.
Well,
aggressive.
I literally
I love the face Cece just made when you said that.
I got up. I don't like the family to make breakfast for me on my special days because I don't want them to fuck it up. Like I want it the way I want it.
Dude, I feel the exact. I made my own breakfast on Father's Day for that exact reason.
So did I. Like it's just I enjoy doing it anyway. So then we finished that, and then I sat down and cracked a beer, and then I looked over and I'm like, oh shit, it's only 9:30 in the morning.
Holy God, Joe.
The day progressed from there.
I guess. Jeez. Well, that got darker than I expected.
I didn't get to drink beer at 9:30 in the morning on Father's Day, but my mommy made me breakfast, and it was nice.
What'd you have? I made sausage gravy and biscuits.
Oh, man.
Oh, I had biscuits and gravy and some corned beef hash.
Yeah.
Oh, corned beef hash sounds pretty good.
Big
All right. Good talk, guys. Let's take a quick break and review You Should Have Left.
This is it, Jennifer. Your big break in TV. Come to prime time. Main feature.
And we're back. John Schnars,
Eric,
how's it going, buddy?
what day is it? I don't know. It's fine. It's great.
I think a 10th level of hell is the answer you're looking
Nah,
for.
I mean, I don't. It's not that bad on my end, but
I don't know. I forget how many.
know.
I forget how many levels there are. I'm not really a reader, John. I don't know if you know that.
We're finding new ones.
John
Finding
Schnars,
new ones.
please bring us the word of the day.
Eric, today's word: odious.
Mm.
Odious. Odious, pretty straightforward here. Extremely unpleasant, repulsive. Comes to us from the Latin odium. So, here we are.
You didn't want to
Cece?
talk about the name Stedler.
Stellar, is that a thing? Oh, I didn't look up.
It
Oh.
means like basically a herder or like someone who keeps cattle.
Huh. John, you're fired.
It's easy. Things
isn't that-
things that would have been helpful for you to ping me, I don't know, like 20 minutes ago.
I thought you had it under control.
No, 100% did not.
I got thinking of those the two old guys from the Muppets. I think that's
Yeah,
Stadler. in
Stadler.
Waldorf. Yeah.
Yeah, odious. I mean, look, if you want to go with Stellar, we can do that
I
too.
mean, odious is more impressive.
Odious. I don't know about that. It's more apt.
CC, you don't need to.
So there's layers here, CC. So odious. The film, one might say, is odious, but the character, the Kevin Bacon character, that's sort of where I got to odious. So he, what the hell's the guy's name? Hold on, I have it up here. Theo. He also plays Stellar. They didn't want to spring for a second actor. Theo, played by Kevin Bacon, is a former banker. I don't think he's working anymore. I think he's now just like stay-at-home dadding. Former banker who gained a pretty high level of notoriety for being accused of killing his first wife. And that's a major plot point, but it's revealed pretty early. It's kind of doled out slowly, but we know that he's basically worried all the time that people are talking about him or that they recognize him, and then you come to realize it's not for good reasons, and then it's sort of revealed first act, maybe middle of the film, that he was accused and acquitted of killing his first wife. Amanda Seyfried, we talked about this last week, I think. She's like 30s and plays a pretty high profile actress, and he is in his 60s, so it's definitely
John, those typical relatable archetypes of former bank exec and Hollywood actress.
Yeah. No, but we were talking, I think, last week about how ridiculous this relationship was, and it's at least
It's part of the plot.
addressed in the
It's
film.
part of the
Yeah.
plot, which I appreciated.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. Whether or not you thought it was odious may predict your feelings about this film. I don't know.
Odious, wasn't he in Guar?
Odorous, Urungus.
Yes.
Rest in peace.
R.I.P.
Aye,
Rest in
that's
power,
all.
my dude. John, tell me about You Should Have Left. And it's a bummer we need to see this in theaters because the You Should Have Left the theater joke is right there.
You should have left your living room and gone back to the kitchen.
Joke's on me. I
Um,
can't because the world is a hellscape.
Well, you could have left the room, I guess.
Yeah, to go to the other room that I own.
So you should have left, as I believe, Eric, you mentioned, this is a Blumhouse production. So interesting here, David Cope is the writer and director.
Copperfield?
So this guy, I was not familiar with him.
I recognize his name, but didn't know from what. It's a distinct
Well,
last name.
So here's where you may have recognized his name from. He is the screenwriter for, and I'm just going to run through these, Toy Soldiers, Death Becomes Her, Jurassic
Ooh.
Park, Carlito's Way, Jurassic Park 2, Mission Impossible, Snake Eyes, Spider-Man.
I mean, that's quite the. Now, is he? What does screenwriter mean though? I'm not up on the link. Does that mean he wrote a bunch of drafts that got made better by other people?
No, I mean he's for
I
a
don't- I
lot
just
of
don't
these
know.
he is credited as the only screenwriter,
Yeah.
and for some of them he is listed. Like for Jurassic Park, it's him and Michael Crichton are the screenwriters. I mean, so
That's a
he's
pretty impressive resume.
super high powered, I would say, as a screenwriter. Now here's the thing, he has a bunch of directorial credits. I thought some of these were very interesting, and just, again, Star of Echoes. Does anyone remember this film?
Well, I did while I was
Yes.
while I was watching this because I was like, oh, I feel like Bacon's trying to do another Star of Echoes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
20 years later, they reunite. 1999, Star of Echoes. Kevin Bacon and David Cope wrote and directed Star of Echoes. He also did Secret Window. Do you remember that movie?
Which also kind of
That
feels
was-
like this movie.
Yeah, it does. Really
It's
does.
the
Johnny
exact same
Johnny
guy.
Depp's a haunted screenwriter.
Yes, exactly. So yeah, I don't know. I mean, he's an interesting dude. The one movie I will shout out because he wrote and directed this movie Premium Rush. Have you guys ever seen Premium Rush?
I think so.
It's the bike messenger delivery movie.
Yes, with what isn't Justin Timberlake? Am I making that up?
No,
No,
it's JGL, I believe. Right?
Yeah, it was Joseph Gordon-Levitt.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Yeah.
It's
Oh,
Joseph Love it. And then
same
the
thing.
bad guy's Michael Shannon. He's
I'm-
like an evil cop.
Boy, John and Joe, you guys don't know those initials, huh? That didn't immediately make you think of JGL, huh? Okay,
No
carry
clue.
on.
Nothing.
Casey gets
In
it.
any event,
I had a clue.
most recently, his most recent credit prior to this was writing The Mummy, which was the Tom Cruise one.
So he wrote the famous line where Russell Crowe looks at Tom Cruise and says, "You're such a young, strapping archaeologist." No, that's not true.
I never saw that movie.
Listen,
so-
we all know that Tom Cruise wrote that line on set.
Yeah. But yeah, so that's sort of in some ways the background here, right? I mean, you have the film. It's Blumhouse. It's this guy David Cope, who I'm gonna butcher his last name. I don't know. However you guys want to
I
pronounce it.
love you. I love every time you really unconfidently say that.
I'm just gonna keep rolling with it. And then there's three actors. It's Kevin Bacon, Amanda Seyfried. I think that's how we've agreed we're gonna say her name, and then their daughter, who in the film is 6. And it was like a realistic 6, I would say. Maybe I have a 6-year-old, so
She felt
kinda
more
hit-
7 to me.
I don't know. It hit close to home, Joe, is all I'm going to say. But yeah, I mean, Joe kind of gave the background here. Kevin Bacon is the banker / odious potential wife killer. Amanda Seyfried, Susanna, is the actress. She's about to start shooting a movie in London, and so they take this vacation in Wales. They rent this house. It is I don't know. What did we decide, Joe? Neo-modern? I feel
Neo-modern. Yeah, don't
Okay.
look that up.
I was
though.
going to say, Cece should probably let us know.
I mean, that's a mid-century modern, but neo-modern, whatever.
Yeah, don't. That's,
Whatever you're
don't worry
going
about
for.
it,
But it's a very architecturally striking home. And I would say for the first half or more of this film, it's kind of a straight up haunted house thing. When they arrive at the house, or sort of pretty quickly thereafter, weird shit's happening. The daughter's like seeing shadows. There's a sequence that I think is in the trailer that you see, play out when they're sort of having an argument, where it's somewhat revealed that neither of them knows who booked the house or like where the house came from. Basically, like the wife booked it. but
Spoiler
she's like,
alert.
"Oh, you sent
Spoiler
this to me."
alert. Spooky haunted website.
Yes.
It is
but
weird that they get over that pretty quickly. It was like,
Yeah,
oh,
he's
well,
not like, wait, hold on, let's talk about this.
Well, there's so much shit going on, and they're in this argument. They're not really communicating, and so it kind of just like goes over. But yeah, we know that something's going on. But yeah, I mean that's the setup. I don't know. I feel like we should start talking and then work our way toward the end because.
Yeah,
when
I would like to
when it
reveal. I would like to reveal the plot slowly as we describe how bad this movie is.
I mean, John, you've only been talking for like a half an hour. I say just keep on trucking.
Joe, I can read some more credits from this guy's.
Please do.
Joe,
Okay.
Joe, why don't you kick us off here?
So I think I'm going to be the only one here, but for what it's worth, I enjoyed this movie. Like, I thought there's obviously flaws, and the stuff that we emailed about, I can't really argue, with the exception of, you know, the hard turn that you guys keep calling it towards the end. Like, I don't think it was that hard of a turn, to be honest. I thought the tension in the, you know, the first two acts was super high, and like I was legit nervous with a lot of the spooky house stuff that was going on. I don't know, like we joked around a lot about Bacon and Seyfried and Roy's like relationship and like the age difference there, but like it felt super believable to me during most of the movie. I mean, you know, the intro that we get to them is a little ridiculous, but
I think I have a lot of issues, but I think the two of them and their like relationship
I thought
is
they
the
worked
strong.
well
It's the
together.
strongest
Yeah.
part of the movie. I think.
Yeah, I agree.
There's definitely a lot of holes, and I'm not gonna say this is like, you know, the best movie we've seen this year, but like for what it's worth, like when it was over, I'm like I enjoyed watching that. I would say one complaint, if you know, this running theme of Kevin Bacon, and like I guess everyone kind of knows him for being the guy that potentially killed his wife. Like I wish they would have maybe like modified that a bit, that like everyone knew him because he was known as this guy that went to like a small town and overthrew their law that you can't dance there. And then like
I was
became,
actually
like,
thinking that
national
we
news.
should clarify that you mean the character Kevin Bacon plays, not that Kevin Bacon is known for trying to kill his wife.
You know,
Yeah.
I don't know him that well.
Yeah,
So
fair.
I mean, he's still very much married to the same woman, and
That's
she's
true.
very
Yeah.
much alive.
is
yeah,
she
but
though?
but Joe's like 8 degrees from Kevin Bacon, so he doesn't know.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I mean,
Uh,
the things they can do with CGI these days. CC.
CC, what'd you think?
I feel like someone had a bot read a whole bunch of Stephen King books while also reading House of Leaves, and then this movie happened.
It is, yeah, it is a little bit like I forced a bot to watch 20 hours of this, and it turned out with this.
I mean, listen, like it's not a horrible movie, and I was totally fine with kind of like the whole plot, though. I mean, like Joe was saying, there's definitely some holes, and they don't they don't expect you to even question it at all. So I don't know, once Kevin Bacon starts, like, I guess kind of losing it, I kind of started losing interest, just because it jumped there so quickly. Like I didn't mind the whole, like, you know, as we get further into it, like the lore or kind of like what the town is saying about the house that he's in, because everyone's very concerned with the fact that they rented this house, or how he ended up at this house with his family. So I really would have liked to have seen more of that, rather than Kevin Bacon losing it, or him like just kind of getting lost in the house, which was strangely interesting, but also kind of bizarre because you don't really get anything else to like grab onto you. But yeah, overall, I was just kind of like meh on it. So
Casey.
But
I was really into this movie for the first 2 acts. I kind of loved the first 2 acts. I liked the atmosphere. I ignored any problems in the plot. Third act, it kind of jumped the shark and it got silly, and I don't like the way it ended up in the finale, and which is sad because I thought the first 2 acts were pretty good and really solid and pretty creepy. I really liked the crazy stuff going on with the house, stuff like that. Now, my first thought was, holy crap, this is House of Leaves. But this is based off of a book from what I've dug up. Some of the things I found from like reading the plot of the book, I haven't read the book. The plot of the book talks about, though, how the main character was a writer and not a banker. And I think if they could have, there's certain parts of this plot in the finale, in the third act, if they could have excised completely. And if they would have gone with the writer angle instead of the banker, it would have fit a lot better. Because he could have been researching stuff like that and stumbled upon this. Instead, we're kind of like, oh, here's an info dump on why I'm here, and I'm going to stick around. See ya. And it's just kind of disappointing after the build-up of the first 2 acts.
John.
Yeah, I will agree that the film's actually really competently put together. Like the direction is very strong. And once I sort of read through the credits of the director and kind of understood, like, this isn't like some, new kid that the Blumhouse folks found and gave a movie to. This guy like knows what he's doing. You also have two leads that are very, very strong and sort of know what they're doing. I mean, it's a very professionally done movie. I thought it looked really nice. I think the house is really cool as a setting. And some of it's just like aesthetically, those types of houses lend themselves to, interesting, scene structure and mise en scène and all this stuff. So I don't know. There's a lot going on, but ultimately this movie goes to a place that I think is my least favorite of all subgenres in horror, which is the like person losing their mind and or sort of being driven crazy to the point where you don't know what the hell's even going on, and where anything can be happening. It just, I don't know, it starts grounded and it becomes unmoored, and in a way that we're not able to really follow it. And
I think
it just didn't make any sense.
Yeah, I think it's trying to do too much, honestly. And the frustrating part about that is that there is a lot about it that works. I think the first act is like pretty interesting, right? By far, this Kevin Bacon is great here. Amanda Seyfried is really good. They're both leaning into the characters. Kevin Bacon is like this guy with a dark, undefined past. I like that we don't find it out right away, that they kind of trickle that out to us because it adds to the tension. But he's like a rubber band pulled just to its breaking point that's trying to not break. And the amount of like subtle, just under the surface acting that he's doing here is really great. And it's fun to watch. And I like how their relationship is like that too. Their relationship is like, starts out, even though there's something going on, right? They seem to love each other and they're trying to work, but then watching over the course of the first and second act, watching the facade slowly break away as they get frustrated with each other. It's the best part of the movie, I think. It's the best character work. It's the best acting. It's where the screenwriting really shines. But they're just trying to, like, an hour in, they sort of cook up this thing that causes Amanda Seyfried's character to be completely gone from the movie for 25 minutes. And then they start this whole completely new thread about this is where House of Leaves come in, where, the house is bigger inside than it is outside, and blah, blah, blah. And the only mention of this...
They did hint at that stuff
one time
earlier in the movie.
When they show up to the house, he goes, oh, looks bigger inside than outside. That's it. You did not another word. Like, you could have.
There's a lot of scenes where like a door appears and then they check later and that door's not there.
But like,
and all the people in town
being, you guys didn't watch the movie.
I just think that
all the people in town being like, oh, there used to be another house there, and now
the problem for me is that I think that stuff should have ramped up way earlier in the movie. And I don't understand at all why you get rid of Seyfried's character there, because it's all the plot tension is what's going on with them, right? The whole movie is about, and the problem is you don't really figure this out until the end of the third act, what the movie is about. And that to me is like a narrative problem.
Yeah. Well, that's
what the movie is about ultimately is that we don't really know about Kevin Bacon's past, and he needs to reckon with it. Except, and there are portions of the movie where you think they're going in that direction, but then it's like, nope, we're going to do this weird, like parlor trick game with the daughter where we're running around and we're in the hallways and like spooky drunk Uncle Freddy Krueger's here. And like, it's the only way I could describe that, like, man character, like literally. And now I see where him wanting to play Freddy Krueger is, because he's 100% just doing his version of it in this movie. But it's kind of unfortunate. I just think the third act is a mess. I think all of the visual, like, scare stuff that happens when they're lost in the house, it's like a 20-minute sequence of some of the most derivative shit back to back I think I've seen in a long time. Like, it's just visuals taken straight out of other movies, just tropes from other movies like this. And then it's all capped off by Kevin Bacon with no extra information except for like a bunch of vague stuff. This vague little like Yoda Empire Strikes Back-esque meeting with himself. He figures out the entire plot, And then Amanda Seyfried comes back for 30 seconds, and then they've already lost all the tension about her not knowing fully about his past, and he just tells her, and that's it. And the movie ends.
Yeah. Well,
what?
so one of the issues, as you said, one of the issues when she leaves, there's no other character. So it's him and the daughter.
Yeah.
Joe, I think you mentioned Joe.
And
over
he's
email.
not. The best part of the movie is him being. Is he menacing? Is he not? He's barely under control. But when he's with the daughter, he's just a giant teddy bear who's not threatening. And you're like, so you lose that whole thread for 20 minutes.
No, but I would say I was very affected by his concern for the daughter,
Sure,
and like there were times where I was like, oh Jesus Christ, he's got to find this girl. He's got to find this girl. But
even that walk, like through the cold, like that was fucking awful.
But you knew how that was going to end. Like that was like ultimately my problem is like it all kind of gets to the point where it is very derivative, and you get to, and I think I said this over email, maybe I said it earlier, but like anything can happen, so it's sort of like nothing matters.
Yeah.
And you know that the movie has to end with where it ended was the only way it was going to end, right? Because to Eric's point, you get to a point where it's all about him and his past. It's either did he kill his wife or didn't he kill his wife? But it's like the movie wouldn't exist if he didn't.
And
kill
even
her.
then,
So
in the end,
it's
they really
like-
kind of like cop out in the explanation, right? Because it's like they don't really fully commit one way or the other. I mean, they did to like we know what he did, but it's like they want to layer with ambiguity so that you still like feel emotion, you know. But he like the other my bigger issue is like one of my issues is that this whole third act thing, when we start kind of seeing this loop more, is it's just for a movie that looks really good for most of it, is well put together. This third act like time loop shit is so lazy. It's literally it's like crossfade, light flash, bloop bloop bloop, and then like, oh, I'm just seeing the scene. You know, it doesn't add anything to our understanding of what's happening. It doesn't make anything scarier. It doesn't make anything more tense. It's like they had to pad the movie, so they just rolled a bunch of scenes that we already saw with a like smoky filter over the top.
And this is where, and it's literally you get into a universe where anything is possible, right? Like there's a sequence where he's trying to run upstairs.
Sounds like
and
a world I want to live in.
The stairs stretch out with a zoom.
They're making it's like a huge moment of tension where he's trying to get up the stairs to his daughter, but
and you're like, no, it's just a little, it's
like,
just a little bit longer. Just keep going, and I can still see the top.
Also, you're just like, why? I don't understand how I'm supposed to be feeling about this.
I think it loses the tension.
The stairs were normal.
I think it what you're saying. To your point though, the lack of rules gets rid of the tension.
Yeah.
And then which they've already handicapped by getting rid of Amanda Seyfried's character.
See, I disagree. I think the lack of rules like ups the tension because like his daughter's missing and you know that there's like no way he's gonna find her. Which I don't know. Maybe you guys don't love your kids. I love mine. So like I got more and more tense knowing that like even as he gets closer, something can happen where it's gonna like set him back.
I actually think the subtle daughter stuff works considerably better in the first and second act. Like the little parenting stuff where she kind of understands that people don't like her dad, but she doesn't know why. Like that stuff is heartbreaking. Or like, did you and mommy fight again? Or her reaction when he tells the mom to leave after there's like a big second act revelation, and she doesn't really say much, and she just kind of comes up and she puts her arms up for him to pick her up. Like that stuff is like really affecting. I think more than the cheap like, "Daddy, find me," in the third act, like poltergeist kind of stuff. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I don't disagree. I understand what you're saying, Joe. I'm just saying, like,
Joe, I've been locked in a house with my children for a long time.
I think that might be the problem. I think you guys are sick of your families, and you're like.
I mean, tell me though? Like, serious question. What is the point of the Amanda Seyfried character in this movie? In the end, like, what is this? Like, you know what I mean? You spend an hour really getting to know the nuance of their relationship, and it's literally like they didn't know what to do with her in the third act. So it's like the crawl screenwriters.
So they gave her 2 phones.
She's really just a foil to show that like Kevin Bacon's not really a secure or like healthy adult in a relationship, because I mean, yes, she's cheating on him, but also like everything he's doing, like he's very possessive. He's very like, he comes to see her on set and it gets super weird about that. And he's like, oh, well, I'm working on my jealousy. Like, I think it's really just to show his character.
It kind of sucks. It kind of sucks though, because
we don't get to know their relationship at all.
Yeah, I
like,
didn't
we
think
know
so.
that they're together, but like I don't know how they got together. I don't know like what their history was. For a while, I assumed that he was the stepdad to this child.
Yeah.
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 No, I assumed she was the
Or
stepmom.
I thought that. Yeah, I
'Cause
thought
she's
she
younger.
was the stepmom, and the daughter came
Yeah.
from the first
Or
one.
I mean-
either way, but what I'm like, I don't think they really developed.
I just
that
think it kind of.
relationship
I think it
at
kind of.
all.
I think that's unfortunate because it's like the movie. I don't think the movie, the point of view of the movie, likes her character very much, and I
Right.
feel like they go out of their way to make him sympathetic, even though he's a very questionable person. Whereas she's just like
I
a
mean, I
little.
didn't think he was sympathetic, but okay.
No, but the
Well,
movie.
no,
No,
but
but the
that's the
movie.
game
The
that
whole
the
crux
movie's
of the
trying to
movie
play.
is you
Yeah,
feeling sympathetic.
yeah.
I'm not saying it. You know what I mean? It's gonna.
No,
Your
I-
mileage will vary,
Because
but that's
he
what
was
they.
working on
That's
it.
what they want.
Right. I just mean like I thought that the whole itself, I mean like if basically if we get to the end and the ending is like you have to come to terms with yourself and who you are as an individual and basically like you know reap what you sow. Like I felt like the entire time they were showing he's not a very sympathetic character and that he's not he's not learning from his mistakes. Like yes, he's loosely trying to work on what happened or what went wrong in his first relationship, but that really he's just continuing the same cycle or the same pattern with his
But
new wife.
why? So, but what undercuts that? I mean, I think that I get it, but like, what undercuts it is like she's actually cheating. So it's like he's like right to be suspicious. So it makes her
Yeah.
look like the bad
Yeah.
character. I would have much preferred if they had gotten into a fight and she left angry
Right.
because he drove her away. Like then but
Well, at
But
points,
they
right?
have this,
Because
like,
at
great
because at
relationship
points,
and she's cheating on him anyway, or is like he pushing her away and like that's why she's
mean,
cheating.
but, like, at-
normally in these type of movies, like I'm like typical male where I'm like, well, fuck her. What is she doing? But like when it comes out, it's like, yeah, that makes sense. Like,
but at
I don't
and
blame
at-
her.
you know,
Yeah,
but
I think you're right. Like I think it's really showing that he's like pushing her because like he never like outright like accuses her of anything and saying like hey like something's weird here, like what's going on with their relationship. Like he's super sneaky about it. He's super like
this is my larger
it
thing
seems
about
like
the
he's
script.
pushing her and pushing her.
This is my larger thing about the script, though. Like to what you're saying, like neither character is really on the just on the surface all that likable or relatable, which makes a movie
Yeah.
that's entirely the two of them like kind of tough to stay engaged with at times. You know?
yeah.
For sure.
No, that's 100% true.
Yeah,
Here's
that's
my one question. Again, like this maybe is a little out of bounds of the film, but like to accept their relationship, you also have to accept that this woman who's like a pretty successful actress married a
Guy who may or may not have killed his wife.
spouse murderer. Yeah, like a
Listen, John, you saw
Um,
him without a shirt on. He's still in pretty
No,
good
it's
shape.
true. Totally.
But I guess
I mean,
no,
I guess-
that's valid, and I think that's what Cece and I were talking about. It's like we don't really know like how they got together. Like
Yeah.
you kind of have to assume like maybe they were cheating together when he was still married. Like
Mm.
that's the only way I could see
Yeah.
this relationship forming. Because
Right.
you're right. It's like he's a suspected murderer. Like why is this person falling?
And
in
again,
love
it's
with him?
like I don't think there's an excuse to not flesh that stuff out when there's three characters in the entire movie. You have
yeah,
more,
they
and they're
definitely
stuck
had the
Yeah.
time.
and they're stuck in a house. Like you have more
I
than
would
enough time to
rather
do
But
it.
have
they did
flash-
try. They showed him journaling.
Yes.
Which like I mean I get it. Like look, you should totally ramble in your journal, but like it's not helping the plot at all.
I did
would
like, you
rather-
know, like to
I would
John's
rather
point,
those moments been background
yeah.
of or like flashbacks of their
It
relationship.
is at times like a neatly kind of like stitched together movie. Like I really liked the little thing of his self-help tapes kind of being background noise or like little intros to certain scenes. Like that's a cool
Yeah.
creative touch,
That
I
was
feel like.
that was effective. It was like a way of doing exposition.
Was that-
that
was
wasn't
that-
exposition?
Was that mise en scene,
Yeah.
John?
I
No,
enjoyed
it's-
what they
that
were
is not
attempting.
Is that Les Mis en scene?
I enjoyed what they were attempting with him. How they're kind of doling out in tiny bits of his background, and like Eric, you'd mentioned in email how it's showing that he's always like on the verge. The journaling scenes especially show he's on the verge of like seething on rage and stuff like that. I appreciated that, but they didn't really do anything with it.
Well, again, like I think that, yeah, they just drop it too many times. I really think that a 20-minute segment in the third act, where you're not, I don't know, he's just running around yelling, like, and then you're dropping all these threads. That part feels to me like you're losing the character momentum that you spend an hour
Yeah.
before that building. So like, I just feel like they needed to find a way to continue it through that part, so that when you then have this sudden revelation in the last 5 minutes, it feels earned.
Exactly.
Because without it, it feels like you didn't earn it.
Yeah, exactly. Because they've been building up. They showed us some good moments when he was showing us that he was on that verge of that rage, but then in the end, when it winds up to, I'm gonna stay here. This is where I belong.
He doesn't even fight it. He's just like, peace
Yeah.
out. She's like, okay, see ya. And then, I mean, we get
Exactly.
the real topper, which I think is the real movie sin here, which is the haunted Airbnb website at the end that just is like, like, come on, dude, really? There is like a pattern, I think, emerging with Blumhouse movies that I do find interesting. It's that when they do these little thrillers like this, like small cast, small budget, good actors, thrillers, they pick semi non-traditional scripts, and they pick scripts intentionally, I feel like, that try to inject some nuance into like your basic good bad character archetypes. There's a lot of that going on in The Invisible Man, frankly. Like, there's a lot of gray in The Invisible Man, and that can be good, but the problem with that is that it takes a very, very like deft hand to not go awry. And I feel like whereas The Invisible Man, I think, really comes together, this to me just doesn't. Like, it's not like fully baked or something.
You have to, for that kind of story, you have to stick the landing, and they just didn't.
Exactly.
Yeah,
it's
for
again,
sure.
like, I've used this analogy before, but it's like when you're fishtailing in snow, and every time you correct, it just continues to get worse and worse until you just crash into a wall at the end.
No, like I said, I was kind of with this movie right up until the end, and in some ways, the way that it unfolds made me more angry, and then go back and rethink the rest of the film differently. Yeah. And it kind of sucks because I was actually, I would say, enjoying it most of the time, and then the ending, I was irate. I mean, I think I sent you guys.
You were.
Yeah, it
pretty
was
nasty.
My I've said this before. One of my favorite current BGH memes is almost every single week, CC getting 5 minutes into the movie and texting, "What the hell are you making me watch right now?"
Yeah.
Like a movie? You're on a podcast, right?
I was trying to think.
Yeah, but like, what the fuck?
But I know
There- like,
know
other
you. I know
movies
that you
that-
send that text 5 minutes in before you know even what the movie's about.
Hey, I was like a third of the way into the movie when I sent that earlier.
That's still like the good part of this movie.
Yeah, it's just
Yeah,
it-
it was,
Yeah.
it was
Yeah,
so
that's valid.
before
It's
it-
not like you're watching Cannibal Holocaust and you just saw an animal get murdered and you're like, what is this? It's like literally just Kevin Bacon and he's shirtless. Like, I don't know.
No, I mean, I think I was trying to think. There's like other movies that I've hated quite this much. This movie Jezebel. You guys remember Jezebel?
Oh.
Like, it's any time where you hang the entire film on a sort of quote unquote mystery that there's this big reveal and it's either going to work or it's not, and it's just a huge risk. And here, like I said, most of the film works, but then when you miss on that ending, it's just, I don't know, it kills the whole thing. It, like I said, it actually makes me angrier. So
Well, as it should.
yeah.
It was fine.
How about the you wouldn't want to shop at that store they had there in that town?
Well, to Cece's point, like as soon as she mentioned it, like I really would have been more into this if like the townsfolk were kind of in on the whole thing. Like if it was
Yeah.
more of like
Yeah.
Not just the one
Uh,
sassy
well,
grocer.
He was.
Yeah.
The grocer kind of was.
he was,
yeah,
but
but
Oh, he-
was an
Rando
info
Karen
dump.
outside
Dude.
on the Land Rover, like, okay,
Yeah.
And again,
what
like,
are you doing?
this is where
like
I think
if they had gone full Wicker Man, like I would have been like totally into
this
this.
is where I
Yeah.
think Kevin Bacon really shines, is in these, again, like the best parts of this movie are him barely holding his shit together when he's in that grocery store and the guy is getting him one item at a time and he looks like he's about to destroy that entire store. That was like chef's kiss. I mean, like,
Yeah.
that's just fun acting to watch, I feel like.
Yeah, I would say I would give him kudos for this movie because there's some good bits of comedy mixed in here.
Yeah.
I mean, they're small and they break the tension and everything, but like that scene with the grocer, especially when
Let's just say being
when he first said something to him and Kevin Bacon said, "I'm sorry, I don't speak," and he's like, "Yeah, I know, I said, what do you want to buy?"
let's just say that being quarantined with 2 kids under 5 for 3 or 4 months has me very much relating to somebody barely containing their rage at any given moment of the day. That scene where he is trying to make that kid peanut butter and jelly, and she is sassing him, triggered me so hard. Like,
Well, and then she knocks over the glass of water.
I
was yelling.
was raging.
Yeah.
You will eat that sandwich, and you
Oh,
fucking
man.
like it.
Well, he made like the cardinal sin there, where he said, "Yeah, it tastes kind of weird." It's like you never fucking
No.
admit that.
First of
Like,
all, just tell her.
like,
First
no,
of all,
this is
just
great.
tell her it's peanut butter.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Kids
I
don't
do
know.
think, as far as the acting goes, Kevin Bacon and Amanda Seyfried, they were fine. They had their material to work with. They did what they do. They were fine. I thought the little girl who played Ella was pretty great.
Yeah.
There was some of the moments with her I thought were really great with her emotions and everything.
Yeah, no, she was solid as far as, I mean, like I said, she's young, and
Yeah,
she doesn't harm any scenes, So,
she's definitely the one that you, the viewer, connects with, though.
Oh,
and they do a good job of setting that
Dude,
up.
the other, sorry, real quick before I forget, the other super funny Kevin Bacon scene is in the beginning when he goes to set to visit her and she's filming a sex scene and the security guy is just looking him in the eyes. He won't let him on set, but you just hear his wife like, oh face moaning in the background, and they share this amazing like awkward glance and
that
like
scene goes, it's long.
it's
a
so
long
good.
scene.
Like,
It is.
I almost want a comedy version of this movie, honestly, where it's just Kevin
Yeah.
Bacon being humiliated and almost snapping all the time.
Eric, I wanted to get a readout on where you land on how screwed up this girl's going to be in the future, or how ashamed her.
You mean the
parents should be for
actress?
letting- Yeah,
Yeah, because it's really funny you say that because I just went on that rant last week about how don't let your kids act in movies.
Yeah,
and-
no, that's exactly why I'm
Yeah,
asking.
like
you.
because I was thinking it immediately out of the gate because in the opening scene of the movie, drunk Uncle Freddy Krueger is like in her bed with her saying really creepy shit to her, and I'm just like,
Yeah.
don't let your kids act, man. Come on.
No,
Did
that
anybody-
sequence is one of the.
I thought it was gonna. I really
creepiest
thought it was gonna.
scenes.
I thought that alone was gonna ruin my enjoyment of the movie.
Yeah, I was
Did
like, I
anybody-
wasn't prepared for that.
Did anybody think that creepy drunk uncle in the first half of the movie was actually Kevin Bacon?
Immediately.
Really?
I
Immediately
don't
it looked like
know. I don't
didn't
know.
catch it.
No, I don't think
I
I
was-
did. I don't think I did.
I
But-
was just that. I was that. Who the hell is this?
He's like the
guy
least,
supposed
you know,
to
but it's
be?
like the least. It doesn't make any sense. First of all, it's like the
Yeah,
least,
well, that's
and
true.
it's not even scary. It's like your uncle who supports Trump at Thanksgiving. That's what this guy's dressed like, just with like a shadow. I mean,
Well,
that is
and, like,
scary, but you know what I mean.
I don't know. Like it was weird. That was. I wish that would have been handled in a little different way as well, because like we see that the daughter's having nightmares and she wakes up and she's like, oh god damn it, nightmares, and then Kevin Bacon wakes up and says the
Oh,
exact
God.
same thing, and I'm like, okay, so I get that, like, this is, I don't know, it was just really clunky, and
Well,
I don't know, it set it off on a wrong foot for
no,
me.
and that's like, that should have been a humongous red flag, because anytime a film relies on dream sequences, like you get one, okay?
Yeah.
This one, there's like 3 or 4, and they're not. It's not that they're not scary, but it's such a cheap,
Yeah.
plot device. It's such a cheap way to insert these moments, these like really spooky moments, and especially where sort of anything goes because it's a dream. That one was ridiculous because it was basically Kevin Bacon having a dream about his daughter having a dream. I mean,
About
like,
himself.
Yeah, it was weird.
the
About
whole
himself.
thing was, yeah, it was ridiculous.
Honestly, this movie really makes me want to read the book. I don't know
Yeah.
who wrote it, and I don't know that many details, but I'd like to
It's-
see how the book ends.
I also would just like to say too that this house is hideous and disgusting, and modern architecture is a pox on the earth.
Oh, I'm a fan.
I-
It is
I
is
thought it was-
cold. It is cold and lifeless. It's like like anti-human modernism bullshit is what it is.
Well,
it's
but I
it's
think that's
fugly.
part of it, because, like, I mean,
Yeah.
listen.
Yes,
I,
well,
a lot of
totally.
the
Yes,
history
it lends
mid-century
itself.
modern
Yeah.
is different, and like, yes, you can make it more your own, but I really think too, like, it would be interesting to read the book, because you hear that, like, yes, there was a house before and then there was a castle, so it's like the further that he like gets into the house, you start seeing like more castle-like
Yeah.
characteristics. So
Yeah.
it kind of like, I don't know, it kind of ruins the idea of the house for me, because I'm like, well, so obviously we're now in a different house than from when we started. So
Well,
I don't know, like
yeah.
it was just kind of,
I do agree.
Yeah.
I do agree that like the weird kind of angles and coldness of the house, obviously, like it lends itself to the horror. It just made me laugh when they walk in. They're like, "Oh, this place is beautiful," and I'm like, "Really? It looks like what an alien thinks a house looks like."
Well, and then he's like, they took all the personal effects away, and you're like, yeah, dude. Also, it's a vacation
Like,
home. Like,
if
you-
I don't
exactly.
want to see other.
If you see this
See other
house,
people's wedding photos and shit hanging on the
like,
wall.
if you see this house and you want to live there, you're basically a serial killer because it's.
I don't know if you guys saw my link in chat earlier, but we can actually rent this house for like $2,500 for a week.
Wow.
That's not
No.
bad at all. You just have to go to Wales.
Exactly.
I thought it looked really nice. I mean,
Yeah.
you know,
You would.
I'm with you,
Yeah.
John.
Okay, you guys go live in the fucking Beetlejuice house and have fun.
It's funny because, and I know Cece mentioned it earlier, like with House of Leaves, things like that. I haven't read the whole book, but this movie screams House of Leaves. But really, the stuff with going on with the creepy shit with the house was, for me, was the best part of it. Like
Yeah.
when they turn around and find an extra hallway, extra room, shit like that. That stuff's kind of creepy.
Yeah, it's all right.
Well,
I
I
think
mean,
it
it's also-
could have been done better.
Yeah, I mean, I think that it blends a lot of like, you know, and not to like cheapen the original story, but like I think it blends a lot of ideas that we've seen before with The Shining or with House of Leaves or with Secret Window. Like you get this like this confusion of what the house actually is or how big it actually is and where it goes. So I like it, but I think that it could have been done a little better. So I think that the book probably really handles that more interestingly.
Yeah,
So
and it's
the
a
book's
shame because
German.
it's a
So
shame. House of
so-
Leaves being one of the few fiction books I've ever actually read. It's pretty good. But again, like a pretty unfilmable movie in a lot
Oh,
of ways.
Yep.
All right, guys, would you recommend this? Cece?
I wouldn't pay for it.
That's a good way to put it. Casey,
It's good on cable.
Yeah.
what's cable?
HBO, Cinemax, Showtime.
Oh, HBO Max. I got you. Joe, what about you?
I'd say yes. Like, you got nothing else going on. Like, fucking watch it.
John?
Hard no.
Yeah, same. If I had paid for this in the theater, I think I would have been livid. All right, guys. I'm not even paid for it because I think, you know, but like if I had to like drive to a theater and spend an entire afternoon watching this, I guess. All right, guys. It's time. Let's take a quick break and do some fan mail.
A treat that's all trick. A nightmare that never ends. He came back to finish what they'll never forget. How do you kill what's not alive? Donald Pleasance, Jamie Lee Curtis, the broadcast debut of Halloween 2. The night he came home. A debut network special presentation coming up next.
Hey guys, this is Danielle Harris. You might know me from some of the Halloween movies, and you're listening to Bloody Good Horror.
Send feedback to info@bloodygoodhorror.com or on Twitter using hashtag AskBGH. Join Patreon to get back episodes and much more. Patreon.com/bloodygoodhorror.
And we're back. We actually did get an email this week.
Oh.
Caitlin from Kissimmee. Send me a meme that says, if 2020 were a hairstyle, it would be Josh Hartnett in Halloween H2O. And I concur. I know for a fact there's going to be several people on Slack angry about the fact that I read that, but listen, I got to speak truth to power here, John. So
Yeah.
Oh man.
info@bloodygoodhorror.com is the email address. I'm going to peruse in case we got anything during the show. But Joe, do you want to talk about our store this month and the charity initiative that we're doing?
Yeah, absolutely. So we've got about a week left, or I guess when this show drops, as the kids call it, it'll be about like 5 days or so. But for those of you who don't know, we are donating all of the proceeds from our online store this month to a charity called Color of Change, which, if you want to read up on that, we have more info on bloodygoodhorror.com, or you just go to colorofchange.com, I believe is their website. And we've had an awesome turnout so far, like more than I think any of us expected. So thanks to everybody that has bought a shirt.
I feel like we equaled our shirt output for like a few years or something, right? Like
it's amazing. I mean, it's funny because we got an email from TeePublic, and this obviously has nothing to do with us, but like they've had to slow down their shipping because they've had like so many orders as of late.
Well, right,
so...
because they gave this opportunity to creators to be able to give the proceeds to charity, right?
No, we just did that.
Oh, I thought they did. Okay, well there you go.
They might have done it too. I don't know.
I thought they did.
I think just with like all the like social movement.
Yeah.
You know,
Everyone's got a shirt.
You know,
and we, but a bunch of our patrons who've ordered them have posted pictures in Slack, and they look awesome. And people are
they came out really good. I think we were all a little nervous because we didn't know exactly what they would look like when the shirts are printed, but they look great. And we're talking about we released not so much a new design, but we took our logo and did kind of like a blackout version of it, which a lot of other great folks have done for the same sort of.
We did have a question too. That shirt will stay in the store forever past June. It's just that we're doing the donation through June, and we made a donation ourselves to the cause.
So to kind of kick things off, we donated $500 to the charity, and then we're donating whatever we make from the store this month as well.
There you go. Joe, that's it for email. You said nothing on Twitter tonight, right? Do we want to do a first here and pass through some of your Instagram what do you call it? Something Question Tuesday or something?
Just Question Tuesday. I never came up with a really good name of it. So, for those of you that don't follow us on Instagram, I think we're BG Horror. I assume so. But anyway, every Tuesday I just
How
post
about I go check?
Just post up like a hey, just ask us anything stupid. And we usually get a pretty good turnout. So, and since we don't have any tweets tonight,
Joe, we are at Bloody Good Horror on Instagram. Full name.
All right, agree to disagree. So we got a few, so we'll read through those this week since we got
I'd like to point out that Joe's our chief social media person at Bloody Good Horror.
You can dock my pay next month. First one from Merle Hughes. I'm probably saying that wrong. Did you all enjoy this season of Joe Bob Briggs?
Yeah.
Is it over? It's
it was 9 weeks, just ended. Yeah, it was a lot of fun. There was only 1 or 2 weeks where like I wasn't really into what they were showing, but the awesome thing, and I've been talking about it for weeks, but every week we had more people on Slack in that channel hanging out, and I know there's a lot of like, I think some people think it's just pure nostalgia, which listen, certainly it's a lot of it, but we have young people who like weren't even alive when that show was on, who are joining us on Slack, enjoying watching, this communal experience of watching movies together, learning stuff from him. So it was such a very, like, to me, positive experience in a sea of not positive things happening right now. So
yeah, that's a lot of fun. It's hard to keep up with when you're on your phone. And
the last few weeks I would watch on my laptop with my second screen so I could do some stuff, have it up, have chat up and stuff. So it's definitely, if you want to keep up with chat, it's a thing. But what was your favorite movie, Joe?
That's a good question. I mean, I really enjoyed Hellraiser this past week. I haven't seen part 2 in years. I mean, I think I talked about it.
But that was definitely the highest quality movie he showed all season.
I rented that on pay-per-view when it first came out, like back when you had to actually call pay-per-view and order it.
It holds up, man. It is gruesome.
I'm trying to think. I'm drawing a blank on what the other movies were.
Honestly, this is gonna offend you, Joe, but I think my favorite movie this season was that insanely low budget, like grindhouse gang fighting movie. Oh, what the hell was that called? Like Streets of Deadbeat by Dawn.
Yeah, that was unwatchable.
Man, if you love like 80s gonzo New York City, like there's no way they had permits for any of this. You know what I mean? Like, they might have actually been stabbing each other. I loved it. It was wild.
Yeah, I mean, it was interesting hearing him talk about it, but like, if I ever actually tried to sit down and watch that movie, I made it through the whole thing. It was great. But there was a bunch of cool stuff, and they showed
Hogzilla, which was this movie that
This is
that
a lot of fun.
Joe Bob did like 7 or 8 years ago because he needed money, he said, and then it never. So you'll appreciate this, John. So I don't think the movie ever came out. I don't think the guy ever got money to finish this movie. It's a really low budget movie about like a killer hog or something, and it kind of became a meme on the show that everybody wanted to show, and he didn't want to. I learned this from Twitter. The director of The Last Drive-In managed to procure the unfinished movie from the director, and The Last Drive-In producer guy cut the movie himself to put it together so that they could show it.
That's the highest level of customer service.
Awesome. Like,
Yeah.
like
It
just,
was really bad.
yeah.
Feral hogs.
But that's the cool thing though. Like, because growing up, Joe, he showed awful movies all the time on Monster Vision, but like, it didn't matter. You just had fun watching it. And now I think it's even more fun with people to like, because as a kid, I was just by myself, let's be honest.
Yeah.
Yeah. One is the loneliest number, Joe, when I was like 12 years old watching Monster Vision.
I'm well aware. I would usually be watching it with your older brother.
Oh, yeah. There you go. Not
Next
with
up
me, I
from
guess.
No. Well, next up, our buddy Jeff, who actually designed our Milwaukee meetup shirt years ago. Am I hungry, or is that my COVID playing tricks?
I'm like semi-convinced I had it in February, and I actually have had a really weird lack of taste and smell in the last 3 months. So
I
don't know about this.
I know 4 people that like swear they had it and then went and got like the test, and it's like, nah, it just turns out.
So I need like another procedure that's like, it's nothing crazy, but they won't admit me without getting a test, and I refuse to do it. So I might die, but I'm not gonna do it because.
Wait, why?
Have you
won't get a
seen
test?
video of the test, John?
My wife's gotten 2 tests.
They stick like a
So,
10-inch
yes.
cotton swab into your friggin' brain, and then they do this for like 10 seconds. I can't do it. I will vomit everywhere. I cannot do it.
I mean,
So
it
are
could
you
be that,
saying
like,
if
they're doing it at like drive-throughs and stuff like that?
So-
That
so-
awful.
So
No.
are
If
you
you
saying
sell
if
it
we
like
stop
two
testing, the
shots.
numbers will stop going up?
Joe, I would like you to Google this right now and look.
No, I've seen it. Like I know exactly what you're talking about. I'm like,
Well, Eric, you could also get the. Well, I guess you couldn't get the antibody test. I wouldn't say if you have it.
Because you need to know if you have it right now before they're going to let you into a
Yeah.
facility, basically. I can't do
Ah.
it. I can't do it.
Have you ever had a flu test? Because it's the same thing.
No, yes, yeah, and I almost vomited. Yeah, I actually had one last year at urgent care, and it was the worst
Well-
experience of my life. So no, thank you.
I'll repeat. You sound like my child when it's flu shot season.
It was like
Is that-
it was like a David Cronenberg movie, Schnars.
Oh,
Yeah, no, I mean it's not pleasant. I'm not
No,
saying
it's
it's
not.
like fun.
So anyway,
not
let's hope I
lining
don't
up
need
to
any
yell.
life-saving surgery before they find a vaccine, because I'm not going.
Boy.
Oh.
well,
Well,
next up.
guess what? If
Oh, go
you're
ahead.
pregnant and you go into labor, if you're tested positive, they take your kid for 14 days.
Yeah.
Oh man,
Oh,
That's
man.
stay at home.
So, why I'm in bed.
It's not cool. No, it's
I was gonna say, CC, put your mask on now.
Yeah, exactly.
Serious, just vomit everywhere. All right, Joe, what else we got?
Next up, I'm not going to read the name to protect him, but this person asks, I'm struggling to understand how Eric loved Come to Daddy.
Oh, it's a him. Okay,
followed
that's
by-
a clue. Okay, this is good. I can narrow down my options.
Yeah, followed by someone who I won't name either, but this person said, who questioned Come to Daddy?
That was me. I took the time to figure out, because I have to refigure this out every time, how to respond to Joe's Instagram question.
I do love it, because normally he just like sends like a private message.
Because here's why. Because in order to message you, I gotta like click all the way back to your first post, whereas that send message thing is always on the bottom. It doesn't make sense. Listen, Come to Daddy is the most fun I've had watching a movie this year, and put that on the DVD.
Oof, that is sad. All right, we got 2 more.
What, Joe?
Watch more
What's the
movies,
most
I would
fun movie
suggest.
you've watched this year?
Me? I mean, just recently, Cece and I, we were talking about that David Spade movie that was on Netflix.
For this show, Joe.
Oh, I don't know. I'd have to go back and watch. I mean, I would definitely put You Should Leave well above Come to Daddy.
No way, dude. Come. Okay, now you're just being mean and hurtful.
Yeah, that's aggressive.
Now you're just being spiteful.
I'd have to look at our top 10
Classic
list.
Joe.
All right, we got 2 more here from E. Beth Payton. If you're a fiction writer, Should the events of your work take place pre or post coronavirus?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
Personally, I don't want to see anything about it, but there is a weird thing where you're watching something nowadays where it feels like an alternate universe. If it's, if you're watching an old movie, you're
Yeah.
like I was watching,
I mean, it's
Uh,
fiction.
I've been
like,
watching-
It can be an alternate universe.
oh no, I
Like,
understand, but how long, I guess here's the question. How long does it stick around? When do they get a vaccine? If we live through this for literally years, there's going to be a lot of fiction where it just gets written into the background of it because there's going to have
Yeah.
to be, you
Yeah.
know what I mean?
But that's like the Black Plague, or the Black Death, like, is in tons of Shakespeare.
John,
you know,
did-
like
Yeah.
it's.
John, did you just say puberty? What was
yeah,
that?
I don't know. Excuse me.
Hey,
Don't worry about
quarantine's tough for everybody.
John,
Yeah.
check your chest hair, would you?
That's true.
Still
Yeah.
none.
Okay, gotcha.
Let me
Still
tell you about
zero.
a thing called nocturnal emission.
Oh my god.
Oh, love you, buddy.
Let's just wrap this up, Joe.
Did you guys ever watch? I remember Fozzie actually posted a video clip of this, but like those sex ed videos where it's
Yeah,
the kid,
We'd watch
He-
him in school.
he goes to the zookeeper to get advice.
No, no.
And the zookeeper's like, "Well, Jimmy, I've seen a lot of penises in my day.
Oh, I did see, yes.
Animal penises.
I did see
What?
that one.
Hold on. Stop.
No,
That's
that,
not real.
No, it's real. It was real.
100%.
Yeah.
There's no.
Well, I'm glad
100%.
that they redid it for my generation because that's bizarre.
I'm
Oh,
gonna find this video.
We
It
did
is
not.
online.
We did not have that one.
Yeah.
boy.
Yeah. Just search zookeeper penis video. I'm sure this will go. This is gonna go great.
You might want to go to the dark web for that. They probably have that there.
Sure. I
VP,
guarantee
Or at
it.
least in incognito mode.
VPN, incognito. I don't think that's going to save you from the FBI, Casey. I'm not a IT technician, but I have my
No, it's
suspicions.
pretty powerful, actually.
Literally, right here, I just searched sex ed video zookeeper, and it's a 44-second clip. The exact thing I'm talking about.
I literally just read a story about how the new iOS 14 has this like copy paste I don't know, it's some kind of thing that reads to you what's on your clipboard or what's happening with your clipboard information, and they did by using this it must have been a beta user discover that TikTok is constantly saving anything in your clipboard. So that's fun.
Huh.
Yeah.
Privacy, what is that?
Why? Just another reason why I'm not using TikTok. So.
Yeah, I just my wife uses it, and I'm like, I'm too old.
Here's what I like
just-
about TikTok. It's stupid and funny, whereas like you go on Twitter or Instagram nowadays and it's just so depressed. Like, listen, people are talking about important issues. I understand that, but you need a break. You gotta snap off a quick toozy. You just pop open that TikTok and it's funny. You laugh for a couple minutes. It's relief, John.
You want the Chinese government to know it's on your clipboard, I guess. Like,
Yeah.
that's cool. But-
They're just watching me while I'm taking a dump. So.
All right. Last but not least, McGreeson, I believe is the name. If Jared Gnomes, Gnomes, I assume, and Fred Durst had a rap battle, who would have the sickest bars? And Eric, someone actually, because I just said my reply was that I had no idea who that first person is, but someone sent me a thing on Twitter. Jared Gnomes is the lead singer of Head PE.
Oh, he's so bad. So here's a fun fact about if you're a long enough listener to remember Mark. Do you remember Mark, Joe?
Familiar.
He was like very at that exact age to be susceptible to like the worst, like the second wave of like
Yeah.
rap rock shit. And Head PE was in that. So like Limp Bizkit was the first wave. Limp Bizkit, Kid Rock, Korn, and like, I was at the age for that stuff. But then like early 2000s, Head PE was one of those bands. They are unbelievably awful. They're so
They're
bad.
terrible. So their thing was they were around like when Korn and Limp Bizkit got big, but their kind of claim to fame was Jonathan Davis, who was the lead singer of Korn, was in Head PE for like, a week or something.
Ah, I didn't know
So
that. Okay.
That was why they kind of got some notoriety. So they were kind of around. They just never kind of took off. the
I
way
give
that
Fred
some
Durst
other-
credit because he's like one of the worst, even by like white rapper standards. He's one of the worst ever, but they had so much clout in the late '90s. Like Joe, I think I sent you this track because it's one of my favorites. The Rollin' remix. It's like Method Man, Redman, DMX, and then Fred Durst does a verse, and it's like
It's amazing. Like
a
he had
great-
a song with Method Man on Significant Other.
it's a
Like,
great,
I'm just
and they're great tracks, they're great beats, but then Fred Durst comes on after Method Man, and you're like, oh my, the balls on this white dude to just like get in here and spit these bars, like, oh my god.
But people loved it, like myself included. Like I'm not, you know.
I was like, yeah,
No shame.
Joe, I listen to that Roland remix all the time.
Oh yeah, I've got like a handful of their songs on my running mix.
But it's
like,
funny.
There's no shame.
It's funny.
But I would say Fred Durst would
Yeah.
probably win that battle.
Because he would at least say funny dumb shit.
Yeah, like oof, oof. That's it.
Remember
That's
that-
all the questions.
Remember that Stained video where he's credited on the song, but all he does is just like,
Oh.
show us your lighters.
Feel those lighters, Biloxi.
I'm on the
real motherfucker.
outside. Fun fact, the one time I ever went to Montreal to just have like, you know, because we live kind of near the Canadian border, and you can just go when you're 18 just for nights of debauchery. And we went to a gentleman's club, and I saw a dancer dance to that song by Stained, and I almost just slit my wrist right there. It was maybe the most depressing
I
thing
believe
I've ever
it's
seen.
called a Canadian ballet. Eric.
I'm on the
I saw a stripper
outside.
dance to Andrew WK's like party, and that was pretty amazing.
That's
so-
awesome. Yeah, that's
the
life
best,
affirming.
yeah. That's,
You know?
that's the way things should be. Like,
Right.
There's nothing sadder than a stripper dance into like a really slow song. Like that's
That also, I
not-
mean, listen, that dude from Stain writes the most depressing songs ever
That's
too.
a depressing ass song.
It's been a while.
Yeah,
It's
I-
his name is Aaron Lewis.
I love-
and
I-
he's a country singer now.
I know. I love that out. That first that album that they had that blew up. The first one was good too. They're
Mud
pretty,
Shovel.
they're solid.
is Still a good one.
I saw that. I
But I
actually
can still remember just the way you taste.
I saw Joe. I saw them live once. He is.
Jesus Christ.
I would put him as one of the best live singers I've ever seen, next to probably like Scott Stapp. He sounded incredible. Aaron.
That is a sentence you just said.
Not
That is a
shit. I'm
bold
sorry.
sentence.
I'm sorry. Not Scott Stapp. Jesus Christ. Not Scott Stapp. That's not what I meant. STP. What the hell's that guy's name?
Scott Wilder.
Yes. Thank you. Holy shit. Thank you. I'm really glad you guys.
Wow.
I'm really glad you guys said something.
Okay.
But
That is amazing.
I didn't even know I knew that guy's name from Creed. Jesus Christ.
I mean,
I think it was a bit of a Freudian slip
Yeah.
there.
No, but I also Bloody Good Horror almost died with me that day, Joe, when I got sucked into an expanding mosh pit, and my friend, who's like 6 foot tall, grabbed me by the scruff of my neck and ripped me out of the mosh pit. So that was pretty.
yeah. I
Pretty cool,
mean,
then.
let's be fair. It was a mosh pit at a Stained show. That's
I mean, Joe, it would have been enough to murder me. Okay.
yeah. I mean, I guess you are a short fella.
Yeah, I can't. I don't, that's not my scene. Oh boy. Okay, so hashtag Ask BGH on Twitter. Also, hit Joe's up for his Question Tuesday on Instagram. We'll start reading those in the show because why not? That's people are on the Instagram these days, Joe. We don't know what we're gonna do next week. We got tossing around a couple ideas. You can pay attention to our social and we'll post there. Don't forget, there are 5 or 6 more days left to buy something from our store. All that money goes to charity in support of racial inequality and justice issues. And yeah, is that it? I think that's it. Cece, whatever. Don't forget Cece's book club. You can go to bloodygoodhorror.com and click on book club and read books.
Yes.
If that's your thing.
And the Slack channel is very active as well, and our good friend Alyssa is taking the reins for right now.
Yes, big shout out to Alyssa for
Yes.
Yeah,
carrying
she's
that
doing a
on.
hell of a job.
So there you go. That's going to do it for Bloody Good Horror, guys. Hope you enjoyed, and we'll talk to you next week.
See you.
Bye.
Goodbye, everybody.
Bye bye.